What's up guys, I am Artem MMA Analysis and you are watching We Want Picks. Today I'm going to be talking about Contender Series 2022, week number 7, and we can't just get into the predictions without talking about how stacked this card is. Let's just go through a very quick preview. The first fight of the night, two undefeated females with a very good prospect to raise a Bleda in one half of that matchup. Ismael Bonfim taking on Nariman Abbasov. These guys are 17-3 and 28-3 respectively. Jimmy Lawson versus Kevin Slavansky is going to be a very good heavyweight fight no matter who wins that matchup. Gabriel Bonfim versus Trey Waters are two undefeated fighters, 12-0 and 6-0 themselves. And Bolato versus Petrino is a rematch from an original fight in 2019. But before we get into that, I do want to just quickly talk about week number 6 and just give a quick review of that card. It was a little bit of a bounce back week for me. I did go 3-2, and the two that I got wrong were the first two fights of the card, and I was thinking to myself, oh man, if Lydio gets a KO over Rebecca, this isn't going to look too good for me, and Rebecca really did manage to turn it around. But to start with, I picked Alex Morgan to defeat Blake Builder, but Blake Builder looked incredible. All credit to him. Same goes for Dudakova. I think Dudakova showed up and looked amazing, although injured as well, which is even more respectable. But I do think that maybe Maria Silva didn't show up 100% for some reason in that fight. But yeah, Dudakova looked incredible over Silva. Maybe that was just a big oversight on my end. But Mateusz Rebecki submits Lydio for the first time. This is his first submission since 2017, and I am pretty happy to say that I did call Rebecki by submission. This guy's got a great grappling background that he doesn't really seem to need to use, but Lydio is a guy with power on the feet, and although the fight didn't last very long and wasn't on the feet for very long at all, Lydio did land a very nice head kick on Rebecki, so credit to Lydio for at least doing that sort of a thing there. But Cedric Dumas, defeated Matej Pinhas in the first minute of the fight by submission. I think Dumas looked incredible in this fight. If you watch Matej Pinhas on the regional scene, this guy has amazing takedown defense. This guy does not get taken down really ever. In fact, I had never seen him get taken down in the film study that I was doing. And that kind of is a credit to maybe Cedric Dumas' offensive grappling, or at least the aggression that he showed, because he did get the takedown in a flurry while Pinhas was moving backwards, but he still got the fight to the ground and was able to win by submission after that. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Jose Henrique in the main event of this fight here. I picked Kinoshita to win. I thought that Kinoshita was going to destroy Jose Henrique in the first round, because that's just what Kinoshita does. And Henrique, in his tape study that I was doing on his regional fights, he wasn't looking that amazing, but you watch his regional fights and then you watch his Dana White's Contender Series fight, and that is two different fighters. Jose Henrique showed up and he looked very, very good in that fight, especially compared to how he was looking on the regional scene. And yeah, Yusaku Kinoshita won. He got the contract. They all got contracts, I think deservedly so. I'm very looking forward to seeing what they do in their careers in the UFC in the future. But let's just get straight into week number 7. I don't want to waste too much time in the intro. Let's just get straight into the fights. And in the first fight of the night, I'm picking Tereza Bleda, and I'm very, very confident in what Tereza Bleda is going to do in this matchup, and the odds are reflecting that as well. You've got Tereza Bleda, at least for now, at the time of recording, at minus 700 of a favourite. I don't know why she's that big of a favourite, but she is. She's at about minus 700 after opening, about minus 300. And I think that Tereza Bleda is going to win. There's a lot to be said about Tereza Bleda's career that I think some people might miss. And if you actually look into Tereza Bleda's amateur career, she defeated Lucy Pudilova in 2020, who recently got re-signed to the UFC. So if you look at Lucy Pudilova's career, she fought in the UFC, went on a losing streak, got cut at the very start of 2020, and then the first fight that she fought since getting cut was against Tereza Bleda. And it's worth even noting that Tereza Bleda was 18 years old and an amateur at the time that almost, or even still, a UFC level fighter was fighting her. And Tereza Bleda defeated her at the age of 18, has since gone on to have a good MMA career as a professional herself, defeating very good levels of competition. We're talking 9-1. She was 3-0 when she took on a girl that was 10-7. She was 2-0 when she took on a girl that was 7-3. We're talking about a girl that is testing herself against good levels of competition, and she's looking incredible by doing it. She's finishing 4 out of 5 of her fights. The one decision win was in 2021 when she was probably 19 years old and was only 2-0 at the time. We're talking about a very good prospect in Tereza Bleda, a very good grappler, and her striking isn't too bad as well. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I would say that it's still at least a little bit better than Nayara Maia's, and I just don't think that Nayara Maia is going to be able to keep this fight on the feet. In fact, I would say that Nayara Maia is also a grappler herself. She's got a pretty decent jiu-jitsu game, but she's not looking as great as Tereza Bleda is, and she's not looking as great as Tereza Bleda is against the same level of competition. I mean, this girl hasn't fought anyone incredible until she took on this girl that was 10-1 earlier this year, but out of her wins, she's got 2 wins by submission, 3 wins by knockout, and 2 wins by decision, so she can finish fights herself as well. I'm really big on Tereza Bleda. I think she's the much better grappler in this matchup. I think she's going to take Nayara Maia down. I think she's going to take Nayara Maia down repeatedly. She's got much better wrestling. Nayara Maia has been taken down in the past. She doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. I think that Tereza Bleda is going to take Nayara Maia down. She might work her way up, but Bleda's just going to take her down again and again, and I think eventually Bleda is going to tire out Maia and end up getting a finish in this matchup. I think that Bleda is a very good prospect. She's only 20 years old. She's got a very, very high ceiling at 125, and I think that she definitely make a good run. I'm picking Bleda, and in fact, I'm so confident in her. I think that she's going to get a finish eventually over Maia through the wrestling and through the grappling. I think I'm going to be picking Bleda by a ground and pound TKO because she's got great ground and pound TKO, or submission as well after tiring out Nayara Maia with her wrestling. And now you've got Ismael Bonfim versus Nariman Abbasov, and this is a fight which I could talk about all day. I genuinely believe that I could probably talk non-stop about this fight for probably about 2 hours, and I talked about it for 8 minutes on my own channel. I looked through some fight tape of Nariman Abbasov on that as well, but we won't be doing that here. But I definitely do recommend you watch fight tape on both of these two fighters because they're 17-3 against good competition and 28-3 against good competition for a reason. These guys have a top 15 run in them. Either of them do. In fact, I don't even know why they're on Dana White's Contender Series. If they really wanted to make this matchup, I don't understand why they didn't just sign Ismael Bonfim and Nariman Abbasov and then had them debut against each other, because that way they don't lose one of them, you know? Because I feel like if the loser of this fight is probably just going to get signed to a big organization anyway. But I'm picking Ismael Bonfim. He's actually a very slight underdog on the odds here. I was somewhat surprised that he wasn't a big underdog because of the amount of hype that Bonfim, that Abasov is coming into this fight with. The odds right now are Ismael Bonfim, sorry, plus 110. Nariman Abbasov minus 130. Very, very close odds, but the very slight underdog is Ismael Bonfim, and I am siding with him. And I think it's just because he's just so much cleaner of a striker. I really do recommend that you watch the tape on either of these guys. You can find Ismael Bonfim's most recent 2 fights pretty easily on UFC Fight Pass because they were on LFA, and you can find Nariman Abbasov's, in my opinion, fight against his toughest test, a guy that was 32-4, and that's on YouTube. You can easily find it. Just search up Nariman Abbasov versus Marif Parayev, and you can easily find that fight on YouTube. I recommend watching that because then you'll understand what I'm about to say. Nariman Abbasov only throws hooks and overhands. That's all he throws. He does have pretty good kicks, but for the most part, 90% of his strikes are hooks, overhands, or uppercuts if he's exiting the clinch. That's all he throws, and that's really all he throws. He's not a technical striker at all. He's a brawler, and he excels in brawls, but I think that Ismael Bonfim isn't going to brawl with him. Ismael Bonfim has a 24-3 amateur boxing record. He's got a 4-1 professional boxing record. And if you watch his fights, he's a very technical striker. He doesn't throw much volume. In fact, I'd say that Abbasov out-volumes him 9 fights out of 10 if they fight 10 times, because Abbasov throws a lot of volume, but he misses a lot of his punches and he does slow down a lot. Where Bonfim in the striking, he's very technical, he's very composed, and he got some insanely clean boxing. You can tell this guy comes from the boxing background, and his younger brother fighting on the card later on, also comes from a very good boxing background. You can tell that these guys have great striking. But another area where Ismael Bonfim excels is in his jiu-jitsu. This guy's got an insanely good jiu-jitsu, so if Nariman Abbasov does take the fight to the ground, which may happen, but in fact maybe Ismael Bonfim would be able to take Nariman Abbasov to the ground, because if you actually watch an Abbasov's fight against Marif Parayev, keep in mind this guy was 32-4, so he was a great fighter, but Marif Parayev, although he was getting beaten up pretty badly by Abbasov, he was still able to take Abbasov down pretty easily, but Abbasov worked his way up pretty easily. as well. But even if Bonfim wants the fight on the mat, he can get the fights on the mat because he's got great jiu-jitsu himself. He does have some great finishing ability on the feet and in the grappling. And Bonfim, to be fair, he hasn't got a finish in his last two opponents, and his last two opponents are his two biggest tests in his career. I'm picking Ismael Bonfim. I like what I see. Honestly, I really do recommend you watch at least one of Abbasov's fight, and you'll understand what I mean by this guy only throws hooks and overhands. It's really all he throws, and the much more technical striker out of the two is Ismael Bonfim. I think he's a pretty live underdog. Look at the stats on Tapology, man. Only 14% picking Bonfim. This is what I mean by I'm very surprised that Abbasov's only minus 130 in this matchup, but I think that whoever's setting the odds is seeing Bombtheme as a very live underdog, and I like him as an underdog. I thought he was going to be an underdog. I did expect him to be a little bit wider of an underdog, but I still would have picked him anyway, even if he was the favorite. But yeah, I like Bonfim in this matchup. I'm going to pick him to win by decision. I think that if he's going to finish Abbasov, it would probably be in the third round, because Abbasov, as I said, he does slow down. He does throw a lot of volume. He does miss a lot of his shots. And because of that, he's throwing so much power in his shots, and he's just kind of brawling with his opponents. He can tire out towards the end of the fight. So Bonfim is either going to win by late finish, in my opinion, or a decision. Maybe Abbasov catches him with something crazy like a hook and an overhand, but I don't see that happening. I really do think that Bonfim is going to win this matchup, man. It's a slight underdog. I've been talking about this fight for 5 minutes. I apologize. I wanted to make it quick, but you can tell I love this fight. This fight is incredible. I wish it was just on a UFC card so they don't lose either of these two, but I'm going to be going with Bonfim. And now you've got Jimmy Lawson taking on Kevin Slavansky, and I can't win in this matchup, man, because I'm picking Kevin Slavansky as a very slight underdog, but Jimmy Lawson could end this fight in 30 seconds. I feel like if I picked Jimmy Lawson to win this fight, Kevin Slavansky would win. But now that I'm picking Kevin Slavansky, there's a chance that Jimmy Lawson just runs through him in a minute, like he has in all of his previous fights. I mean, he knocked out a guy in 22 seconds, come to LFA, knocked out a guy in 18 seconds, and ground and pounded a guy out in 34 seconds. Now, it's definitely worth noting that Jimmy Lawson is actually a D1 wrestler, so he's got a very good wrestling background. But in mixed martial arts, I think that the more skilled fighter is Kevin Slavansky. This guy's going to be a little bit longer than Lawson. He doesn't have a very big reach advantage, but he is 6'6" and he's very tall compared to Lawson, who is 6 foot at the heavyweight division. But I like that out of Slavansky. This guy is a very experienced fighter. He's 11-1 as a professional, with 1 loss coming by injury in his debut. So he's actually coming into this fight on an 11-fight win streak, albeit not against the greatest levels of competition, I will admit, but he does look very good in the fights that he is winning. And he did have an amateur run. He did fight in the IMMAF 2015 World Championships, and to be fair, his amateur record isn't the cleanest. He did go 9-0, but if you actually look into it, he went 9-0 against guys that were either 0-2 or debuting. So I don't really know how much stock you can really put into that. But he's looked great. He's a very skilled fighter. In fact, I think that he's a very skilled heavyweight, and I think he's the more skilled fighter in this matchup. Kevin Slavansky fights behind a nice jab, and if he needs to, he can grapple. He does have a few submission wins in his record. I think that if Slavansky kind of moves around and avoids the power shots out of Lawson, he could definitely start to take over the fight in the second and third round, because I don't really know how Lawson's cardio is going to hold up. You know, I mean, the first fight of his entire career, he did lose to Saeed Soma, who is now going on a somewhat decent run in Bellator. I mean, he's lost a couple of fights, but they have been to pretty good, to good fighters. But yeah, since then, you know, that was in 2019, his first ever fight, and since then he's finished every fight, and the first win, in the second round, and then since then 30 seconds or less, pretty much. So pretty hard fight to call. I mean, Lawson could definitely just come out here and knock out Slavansky, but I'm going to be picking Slavansky, as I just think that he's the more skilled fighter out of the two. So I will be picking Slavansky to win this one. Surprised not many people picking him to win by submission, because Slavansky does have a few submission wins on his professional record. In fact, he's got 5 by submission, but I don't think he's going to look to wrestle with Lawson, because I think that Lawson will win in the wrestling exchanges if it ever gets there. But I think for the most part, the fight probably does play out on the feet. Kevin Slavansky fights behind a jab and kind of tires out Lawson, avoids the power shots, and then takes over in the second and the third rounds, and maybe he gets a late finish. Maybe he even wins a decision, because Kevin Slavansky does have a few decision wins in his career as well, which you don't mind seeing out of heavyweight, in my opinion. We'll see. Maybe Jimmy Lawson knocks this guy out in 30 seconds and all of my research was wasted. But I am picking Kevin Slavansky. I think he's just the more skilled fighter out of the two. And now we move on to a matchup between Gabriel Bonfim taking on Trey Waters. Gabriel Bonfim is the younger brother of Ismael Bonfim, who was taking on Nariman Abbasov earlier on in the card. And I'm going to be picking Gabriel Bonfim to win this fight. Man, Trey Waters is taking the fight on like a week's notice. I think about 10 days notice is what Trey Waters is taking the fight on. But he's coming off a very impressive win over Benjamin Bennett in his last one, where to be fair, Bennett was beating him and then he ended up knocking him out towards the very end of the fight. And that's just not any 3-0 win. Benjamin Bennett was a very good prospect. He was a minus 400 or more favourite coming into that matchup, and he was very much expected to win. He went 18-4 as an amateur. He's the 2017 IMMAF amateur world champion, and all of those amateur losses came to very legitimate guys. Alex Martinez, who went on to fight in PFL, still does. William Starks is doing something of his own in LFA right now as a professional. Brendan Allen, you guys probably know Brendan Allen. This guy's doing his own thing in the UFC, and he's on a little bit of a streak right now as well. And he's becoming a pretty well-known name. So all of the guys that Benjamin Bennett ever lost to as an amateur were great guys. And he was undefeated as a pro, 3-0, taking on Trey Waters, a guy which he was expected to defeat. And Trey Waters, to be fair, was losing the fight. He was losing the stand-up at the fight, which I think is going to be a key in this matchup. And then he just knocked out Benjamin Bennett towards the very end of the fight. And here he is fighting for a contract in the UFC. But I've got to pick Bonfim in this matchup here. He's a national boxing champion. And he's got good wins on his record. This guy's 12-0, but he's not 12-0 against just anyone. You know, this guy defeated a guy that was 8-0 when he was 10-0, 13-3 in the first round in his last one. He's got great boxing. He's got very clean boxing, just like his brother Ismael. He's got a very good boxing background. As I said, he's a national boxing champion. If Benjamin Bennett is beating Trey Waters in the stand-up, I really believe that Bonfim should be able to beat Trey Waters in the stand-up as well. And even if the fight gets to the ground, Bonfim's an incredible grappler. He's got submission wins on his record. He can get it done on the ground, and I just think that Bonfim's got him covered, especially on 1 week's notice. I mean, Trey Waters taking this fight on 1 week or 10 days notice. A lot of respect for that, but so many people picking Bonfim to win this fight. I think that he is going to as well. And what do the odds say? The odds have Gabriel Bonfim a minus 250 favourite in this matchup, and I think that is somewhat fair. I mean, it's Dana White's Contender Series. Anything can happen, but Trey Waters has got a good run. He really has in his career, but Gabriel Bonfim, 12-0 coming into this fight. 25 years old, national boxing champion, great Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's very well-rounded. I just think he's going to get the job done some way or another over Trey Waters, and I think he's going to get a contract and be 13-0 going into the UFC. That's a good record. That's an amazing record. So yeah, give me Gabriel Bonfim to win that matchup there. I think both Bonfim brothers get signed. That's awesome. And now we're in the main event. We've got Rodolfo Bolato taking on Vitor Petrino in a rematch. And Vitor Petrino won the first fight, and it was in 2019. As I said in the intro, he defeated Rodolfo Bolato in his debut. Rodolfo Bolato at the time was 5-0. They probably thought that Vitor Petrino was going to be a very easy win to keep building Rodolfo Bolato's record. And long behold, he gets knocked out in 25 seconds in that matchup. And to be fair, you can't actually tell who the better fighter is in that matchup because it did only last 25 seconds. But since then, Petrino has been defeating guys that aren't his level, let's be honest. I mean, 1-17, 0-6 in debuting, but then he took on a guy that was 20-8, and he did finish that fight in the second round. Rodolfo Bolato, since then, has gone on a win streak himself, and is now fighting the guy that once defeated him for a UFC contract, and this is crazy. This is a very close fight, and it's not as simple as the guy who won the first fight is going to win the second fight, because in my opinion, if this fight goes to the ground, it's going to be all over. I really believe that Rodolfo Bolato's grappling advantage is that much stronger. I think that Bolato could easily submit Vitor Petrino if he gets the fight to the ground, and Vitor Petrino really needs to keep it on the feet. But I like Vitor Petrino in this matchup. I am picking him, but there's a few red flags. I'm just not too confident about it, and that really is because Bolato could finish this guy on the mat. And I think that he wouldn't have too many problems doing it if it gets there. But I think that there's going to be so much hesitation from the Bolato side, just knowing that Vitor Petrino knocked him out, especially in the fact that Vitor Petrino didn't just knock him out. He knocked him out 25 seconds, and he knocked him out in his debut. Vitor Petrino since then would have made leaps and bounds. I mean, he has made leaps and bounds improvements. He's 25 years old. Bolato is 26 years old as well, so he's a young guy as well. You might see him again, but I feel like the pressure's all on Bolato. You don't want to have two losses to the same guy on your record, especially if you only have two losses in general. But I'm picking Petrino. He is a very slight favourite here. I think he's about minus 200 or so. He is minus 205 right now to Bolato plus 175. I think Bolato is an incredibly live underdog. I think there's a very good chance that he gets this win back if he can get the fight to the ground. But I just think the fact that if Petrino won the first fight, he's going to be so much more confident than Bolato in this matchup. He's a better striker out of the matchup. He's a more powerful striker in the matchup. Bolato just has a very good grappling advantage. And in most cases, I would pick the grappler to win, but I feel like there's like a special sort of just something that's making me pick Petrino, and it's just the fact that he did win the first fight. It's pretty hard to kind of pick against Petrino on this matchup here. I think he's going to get the KO again. Bolato is a very live underdog, though. I will emphasize that. And I just want you guys to know that I'm very aware that Bolato could just take this from Petrino, but I think that Petrino should win. He won the first fight. I think he's going to be confident enough to win the second one. So that's my predictions for week 7. I think this is a great card. I think it's going to be insanely good. I mean, probably the best card on paper Dana White's Contender Series has ever done. I mean, Ismael Bonfim versus Nariman Abbasov. What an incredible fight. What an incredible fight. I mean, even Jimmy Lawson versus Kevin Slavansky is amazing. Gabriel Bonfim versus Trey Waters is also amazing. You've got a rematch, and you've got Tereza Bleda, undefeated, 5-0, a girl who was defeated a girl that's in the UFC right now at the age of 18. I mean, I can't really look over that too much. Minus 700 favourite, hello. That's insane. But yeah, I'm going to be picking Bleda in that matchup. I'm picking Bombtheme, I'm picking Kevin Slavansky, I'm picking Gabriel Bonfim, and I'm picking Vitor Petrino. I've got 2 underdogs on this card. I was very close to picking 3. I was very, very close to picking Rodolfo Bolato, but I just can't bring myself to doing it. I want to pick Bolato, I really do, but I'm going to side with Petrino, and hopefully he gets it done for me in this matchup here. Thank you guys so much if you made it this far. Feel free to subscribe to the We Want Picks YouTube channel below, and become a member as well. We've got some great content on the We Want Picks YouTube channel. We've also got a website, we've got a blog where we write articles, we post articles for you guys. There's so much content on the We Want Picks website. There's so much content on the We Want Picks YouTube channel. So thank you guys very much for watching the video. And I hope to see you in the next week. Week number 8. And then week number 9, you've got Hal Rosas Jr. fighting, who is 17 years old. Madness. You've got some crazy stuff coming up in Dana White's Contender Series. The Contender Series isn't over yet. There's been so many contracts handed out. There's some future stars that have already fought. There's some future stars that are going to fight. I think that Bonfim or Abbasov, the winner of that, is going to be... Who knows what they're going to do with their career? I mean, if Abbasov wins, he's going to be 19-3. If Bonfim wins, he's going to be 18-3. I mean, these are some crazy records we're talking about right now. Let's just end the video there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week for week number 8.